You are wasting your time working out if you are not following this approach I'm going to talk about in today's video. So many gym goers sabotage their progress every single time they step in the gym because they're not following this principle. Just simply walking through the gym doors and exercising is a great start, but it isn't enough to build muscle on your fat loss journey. So in today's video, I want to talk you through the process of progressive overload and give you a crystal clear understanding on how you can apply this into your next training session so that you can start actually making the progress from the hard work that you guys are all putting in. Okay guys, let's keep it simple. So within your program, I'm going to establish that you're already following a training program. You've got your splits, you're doing your push-pull legs, so your upper lower splits or full body. You've got that all sorted. Now within that session, every single session you have different exercises, right? Each exercise is there to target a specific adaptation within your body. So as an example, you're doing a barbell bench press. A bench press, what's going to be the primary movers? What muscles are going to be moving that weight from the chest up to the original position? That's going to be your chest, your triceps and a bit of your shoulder, but predominantly the primary muscles your chest. You should know that with every single exercise you're doing so that you know the outcome you're trying to get from doing the movement. Otherwise, you're just guessing. So I need to establish that you guys already know that first. Now, when it comes to progressive overload, all I need you guys to understand with this is going to be the goal where we've got the time that you're training for. So that doesn't mean the hour session, that means the weeks, okay? So we can say that's in weeks. And we go, right, if this is like week 1 down here when you start, if we're going to say by week 12 on a training program, we want to make sure that we're making progression within that time frame, and that could be through increasing the weight, reps, the sets. More specifically, the goal is ideally you want to be increasing the weight that we're lifting, but also a nice way to be able to do that is by doing more sets or doing more reps, okay? So let's say on week 1 you're doing a bench press and you're doing 30 kilo, right? By the end of week 12, we want to follow a systemized approach within a training program that allows that 30 kilo to become 40 or 50 or 60. That's the goal. Now, imagine the version of you that benches 30 kilo. How's your chest going to look? Imagine the version of you that benches 60 kilo. How's your chest going to look? Remember, the primary movers. So the version of you at 60 kilo, you're going to have a bigger chest, right? So that's the goal. We understand what exercise we're doing. The reasoning behind it is to grow the primary mover, which in this case is going to be the chest. And then we know that if we make sure that we apply this principle, progressive overload, through the time that you're working in a training program, that's the outcome that we're trying to get from it. So now we're super clear on exactly why you're walking through them gym doors, okay? And the result that you're trying to get as a byproduct. And what's important to note is to make sure that we're progressing, we need to keep variables the same. Because what I see a lot, and this is a mistake you might have made before, a lot of people make, is that you increase the weight over time. You've been trying to do that. You've gone from 30 kilo to 40, but now your range of motion's decreased, okay? Your ROM here, range of motion. So you've gone from doing 30 to 40, you think you've increased, but you were originally going down to your chest and now you're coming like 8 inches off your chest, right? So then you'd ask yourself the question, say, is that true progression? Maybe, but not really. You want to make sure that when it comes to progressive overload, you keep the variables, the variables the same each week. It's super important, guys. That means that form remains the same. So the range of motion stays the exact same. The tempo of the reps, so the way you move them. Are you controlling for 3 seconds or are you controlling for 1? If you were controlling for 3 seconds and you were in control of that weight, and now suddenly you're just rushing them, that's not really a form of progression because you're changing the variables, right? So in order for true progression and true progressive overload, you need to make sure that your range of motion stays the same, the tempo, the way that you execute and the speed of each rep stays the same. And little things like if you're doing an incline bench press, make sure that things like the bench height stay the same. If you're 1 week doing bench height 2, then bench height 4, then bench height 5, there are the variables that will impact how much weight you lift and impact this process of progressive overload. Now, just to get clear, if you're going to work hard in the gym and you're getting stronger over time, you're going to make progress. But would you get faster progress by following a proper approach like this? Yes. So although you could still make progress, even if maybe you change the bench height every now and then, of course, you will get better results following this process. So let's go with this specific example. We said something like the bench press, right? Let's say on week 1, you're focused that you're doing 30 kilo. You might only be doing 2 sets. Over the course of the program, through the training that you're doing, but more importantly, what you do outside of the training, which is going to be your nutrition, your sleep, your stress management, that's what's going to allow your body to adapt to what you're doing in the gym. So you want to have a program that allows you to progress, but if you're not following proper nutrition protocols, proper stress management, proper sleep, you're not going to be able to adapt to the stimulus that we're putting on the body inside the gym. So make sure that you don't neglect them parts. Otherwise, when you come into the gym, you're not going to be able to do 35 or 40 kilo. You're going to feel you're not going to be able to do it because your body's not recovering properly. You're working hard in the gym, tearing down muscle fibers, but then you're not going away from the gym and doing the necessary things to allow your body to recover from what you've just done. So super important to know that that needs to be a huge focus within your lifestyle as well. But going specifically towards progressive overload, once you've navigated outside the lifestyle, which is going to be super important, let's keep it simple. What we need to be doing simply over time is lifting more weight or doing more reps and doing more sets, okay? So if we start the program, you might be doing 2 sets at 30 kilo. The week after, you might go, right, I'm going to bump it up to 3 sets. The rule that I want you to have is, and this depends on your level of ability and it can change, but eventually what I wouldn't want you to do is be increasing volume each week and increasing the weight that you're lifting. So at some point when you probably get stronger, you wouldn't want to then be doing 100 kilo for 3 sets and then the next week doing 100 kilo for 5 sets, doing like 110 kilo for 5 sets or trying to do that. You want to make sure that you're just going in small increments each week. So from 30 kilo the next week, if you've done that for 2 sets, you might do 32.5 for 2 sets, right? And then you might do 35 for 2 sets. But ultimately, you've got to listen to how your body feels, right? Because some weeks you're not going to be as strong and some weeks you are. But over time, you should see this, especially if you're at the start of your journey, progression being relatively linear. And that's what's going to allow you to go from week 1 at 30 to being a hell of a lot stronger in week 12. But what's super important, guys, with this whole process is that you're training close to failure as well, because that's what's going to put enough of a stress on your body to cause it to need to change and build muscle tissue on your fat loss journey. So make sure when you are working out and you are training that there's got to be a level of intensity there. If you're not training with intent and purpose, then unfortunately you're not going to see the best results either. So really make sure that during this progression of this progressive overload process that you're making sure to keep the intensity high. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about is rep ranges. So as an example, you might have like 8 to 10, you might have 12 to 15. These are going to be ranges that I essentially would program for a client and want them to be hitting close to a failure point within these rep ranges. So as an example, I would say, right, client John, I want you to do a set of barbell bench press where you fail between 8 and 10 reps. So the minimum amount of reps I want you to do is 8, maximum 10, and you want to be failing within there. So you're not failing because your mind's saying, oh my God, stop, John. Your body's failing. The primary muscle, so in this case of the bench press, the chest, physically can't produce enough force anymore to lift that weight from the chest up to the original position. Eventually, this is how progressive overload works now. If you start at 30 kilo and you do 8 reps, the next week you might go, right, I'm on 30 kilo, I only did 8. I don't really want to go up in weight yet because that might bring me out of the rep range because it might be a bit too heavy. So you stay on that weight, 30 kilo, until you can do 10 reps. Once you can eventually do 10 reps at the same weight, you're then going to go up in weight, because when you go up in weight, naturally the amount of reps that you're going to be able to do goes down. So then you might go up to 32.5 kilo. Then you can do 32.5 for 8. The next week you might do it for 9 or 10. Then you go up to 35. And that's going to be the process that's going to allow you to progress on this journey and get towards the 40, 50, 60 kilo, whatever it is, depending on the speed of progression. But that's how we're going to utilize rep ranges, keeping variables the same, keeping intensity high to progress and take you from somewhere where you are at the start of your training program to a hell of a lot stronger within a short period of time. So that's exactly what I want you guys to focus on. However, there will be a point where you feel like you've hit a bit of a plateau. That's normal. Maybe you're saying, Jacob, I've been training for a while now. I can't increase the weight on my sessions anymore. I'm struggling with the reps to get them any higher. And sets, there's going to be diminishing returns when you go above a certain amount, right? So when you get to that stage, what I want you to start thinking about is, remember at the start of the video we said about there's going to be specific exercises that target a specific adaptation. The bench is targeting the chest, right? Then what I want you to do with that knowledge is go, okay, well, maybe I've plateaued on this one specific movement, but what I'm going to then do is I'm actually going to just change that movement out and do a different movement that's going to target the same adaptation within your body. So maybe you do a flat dumbbell bench press instead, or you go into a Smith machine, or a flat, like a machine press, different options. They all target pretty much the same thing, but it's just a different variation. And these different variations are what's going to allow you to push past plateaus. However, it's important to know that before you do that, I want you to be really considerate on, okay, first of all, are you just stuck on one exercise, or are you stuck on a variety of exercises? If you're struggling to progress the barbell bench press, but you're also struggling to progress your rows, your bicep curls, your pull-ups, and every exercise, maybe you just need a little bit of a deload. You need to pull back. Maybe you're a bit fatigued. Your body needs a rest, and that's one thing that sometimes I see clients having to do. We need to plan in deloads, opportunities to pull back on volume, the amount of weight you're lifting, and you would do that within a training phase as well. Now, If you've gone, no, it's not, it's just the barbell bench press that I'm struggling on, that's when I just swap it for a similar movement that targets the same adaptation. It's also important to note that you need to look and you need to go, right, what's my lifestyle like? So if we look at lifestyle, we could say this could be like your sleep. We could say this is gonna be your stress management. This is gonna be your nutrition. And if you're not ticking the boxes on these and you haven't been sleeping well recently, and your stress is high and you're eating like a child, then that could be another reason for why you're struggling to bring the weight up in your sessions and you're struggling to do more reps. So I think ultimately, if you do hit a plateau, it comes down to, first of all, is it overall fatigue? Or is it just one movement? I would look at your lifestyle. Do I need to be sleeping better? Could I be managing stress better? Could I be eating better and fueling myself properly for the sessions? It might be overall nutrition, days prior on the day, and what you're doing pre-workout. I'd also look at then, is it just that one movement? Is it just that barbell bench press, or is it just that squat? And then you replace that for an exercise that's gonna target a very similar adaptation, that's gonna give you a new opportunity to progress. So you can start from scratch, new movement, right, I'm at 20 kilo on this one, let's build up on that. So just to give a bit of an overview on this video, guys, I hope this has been helpful. This is how you're gonna progressively overload. You're gonna pick an exercise, you're gonna work on it for say 8 to 12 weeks. You're gonna make sure that you apply rep ranges within your training. So you're gonna say 8 to 12 or 12 to 15. You pick a weight at the start of your program, you can do minimum of the rep range, no more than the highest. And each week you're gonna focus on progressing to get from the bottom of the rep range to the top. Every single time that you get to the top of the rep range, you then increase the weight. And over time, that's gonna get you to a position where you're gonna be lifting much heavier weight. Keeping the variables the same is super important. People get really, really focused on increasing the weight, but in the process, they lose the range of motion or they lose the quality of the reps by changing the speed. They go too quick, they rush them. That can also result in injury too, and it's not true progression. When you hit a plateau, you need to think, first of all, am I fatigued? Is it every movement or is it just one? Have a look at your lifestyle. Are you sleeping well? Is your stress high? What are you doing with your nutrition? Are you eating well? Are you hydrated? Are you fueling well for your sessions? Finally, if it is just that one movement you're struggling to progress, change it out for a movement that targets a similar adaptation and run with that for a while within your training phase and follow the same progressive overload approaches. Guys, I hope that's been helpful. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.